to get you here quickly. You should start from here and let us take care of everything in between. Flextronics SBS, innovative manufacturing services.
Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton for EMS Now. I'm here at Productronica 2011 and I'm joined by a very distinguished team to talk about the topic of sustainability in the electronics supply chain. Joined by Irvin from Avnet, thank you very much for coming in. Ray from C-Place, and Jeff is from Riverwood Solutions. I'm going to come to you first, Jeff, because I really want to get your opinion on how the contract manufacturers and the OEMs, the people that are buying these services, how they feel about sustainability and the whole green issue and the kind of value it has to them in terms of their supply chain.
Sure. Well, it's definitely an important issue that's on the radar screen. I think it's fallen down in importance a little bit with the economic downturn. People have gotten much more concerned with keeping costs down and that being a focus over sustainability. Reliability in the supply chain has been very important, and some of the green issues maybe haven't gotten the same priority that they did in the past. A lot of what I hear customers saying is that they need to meet a certain industry standard, and that's very critical that they meet that industry standard, because if they're below that standard, then they have, well, in some cases legal issues, but very often PR issues for not living up to that standard that people expect. However, there are really few companies that want to push that, that want to exceed that, because they don't necessarily see that as a large differentiator, the way that some companies may have in the past.
It's interesting because we see some OEMs with chief sustainability officers and people like this, and you have to ask yourself, is it PR or is it something they're really buying into? Just to explore the topic a little bit more from within a business, one of the first areas I want to touch on is, particularly you two guys, you've got very big global footprints, very large businesses. Let's start with how those businesses behave in the way they operate, in their citizenship within their individual locations. Ray, for you guys, you're pretty much everywhere around the world. How important is that to you to have a sustainable approach to the way you develop your buildings, the way you develop your infrastructure, your logistics?
The thing is, it goes across everything. It's not just one thing. You can't just say sustainability is this and then finish. Switching the lights off is a big issue just in our facility in Munich. You know, personally I hate it when I walk past the building and all the lights are on. There's nothing actually going on. So it's a very, very simple thing, but it's, let me say, the simplest part of it. The other things, we do have to ship quite heavy equipment around. So how we do that, by sea, in crates, recycling the crates and that type of thing, is very important to us.
And in terms of you guys, I was going to mention logistics. Logistics is a huge part, if not the biggest part of your business. Stuff traveling around the world, a lot of air miles, people traveling around the world. How do you manage that, and how do you manage your distribution facilities in terms of a green, sustainable approach?
Okay, we have clearly a clear approach. That's for sure. We included it also in the complete planning of our new European warehouse. I think there are a lot of new ideas in. It's a totally different approach. I think what we see is that the interpretation is around the process and around the regions totally different. I think the interpretation in US or in Europe is totally different as in Asia. You have also the problem, or the challenge what I see is that different areas or process have also totally different interpretations, and in some process you feel it is more than PR, and in other process you have the impression it's PR, and I think that's really something what we as a distributor have to challenge, to cover all this process. You have on one hand the clear focus customer, and you have other customers that said, yes, it's nice to have, but it's really the discussion what it is worth for the complete supply chain.
I was interested, Ray, in watching some of the challenges that you have on your booth, and one of them was talking about remotely accessing equipment for technical support and using those kind of things, not flying engineers around the world, but also the strategy you have in terms of global deployment. That must be a very important element of what you do in terms of making the business greener. But it can't just be green, it has to be leaner and it has to be more economic, surely.
But I think, to be honest, what we've done in recent years is, everyone talks about using video conferencing, for example. And in reality, the video conferencing equipment today is superb. And time is one thing, getting on an aeroplane, and this is also very expensive. So sometimes these solutions that are, we say, greener than the traditional ways do save you money and time.
Yeah, and that's really important.
We see the same thing quite a bit, where we have clients that are in the US or in Europe that have factories in Asia, and they simply don't want to have to get on that airplane. And that has multiple advantages, as you said. It's not just saving you the carbon footprint, it's also saving you time and money, and the technology is there in many cases.
And we're in a tough economic environment, so cold hard cash is pretty important. Is one of the main problems with green or with sustainability is that businesses have looked at it as a cost that they have to justify, where it really should provide a cost benefit?
I think one of the biggest problems is that companies don't necessarily know how to measure it. It's an extra activity. They're not sure whether it costs more or not, but they're not sure what the right measurement should be, and so they don't bother to do it if they can't see what that measurement is or what that justification should be.
But I have to say that we in our organization have a supply chain manager who is a lean fanatic.
Right.
And he proves it by, this is what I want to do because it can save us money.
So maybe the focus needs to be more on lean, where we can offer tangible benefits to the customer and all the way through the supply chain, and the green benefits there. Do you see those as connected, or are there sustainable issues that fall outside of lean as well?
No, I think that's really, two topics that are really have a clear connection, and I think the topic was before, there's not only one topic. There is, for me, this is a philosophy that you have really to step in, that looks like on travel policies, that's really on supply chain, that is car policy, everything around, and there you should, and I think at the end we will have no other chance as to have a focus on it. For me, it's only a question of time. But I think we have to have a very broad approach about it, and we have to step in each of these segments and to have improve it. I think that's for me really important.
You have to have an approach.
I think, unfortunately, in our industry, if you look around, you will see a lot of packaging. Components come in packages, and whatever, PCBs come in packages. And I don't know how much of that is actually recycled or possibly to be recycled.
Do you think there's an issue of the way we behave sort of collectively as an industry? I think if I look at events, I see sustainability events or I see green events, and I think in some ways you think, who are we going to send to that in the organisation? That's not an event that everybody wants to go to. If it was an event that was about making more money, using those strategies, do you think more people might go?
No, I think there's no question that if you describe it simply as, well, this is just about sustainability, it's just about green, then the priority is going to be much lower than this is how to run your business better, this is how to be more efficient overall. You're going to get much more interest in that.
Sadly, the analysts on the quarterly conference call want to talk about the P&L more than they want to talk about the environmental impact of the business.
But there is corporate pressure. There's still pressure there, but I think some of the obvious things are difficult to tackle. But you have to put some effort into that.
And I guess, as Irvin said, it's coming. It's a question of time, and you as key suppliers in the industry have to be prepared.
And to be honest, at the moment we have no pressure as a Porsche. I think there is no pressure. I think at the moment everything what you do is you have to do some, say, regional laws. That's something what you have to achieve, some audits. But for the rest, there is no pressure. There is no pressure. There is nothing there that you have to say, I have to do it. It must be happen. And I think that's maybe something where we have to think about in principle, and I think that, yeah, at the moment I don't see the pressure to get it done. And but for me, it's really this complete philosophy is not. It's not a dream. It is reality, and we have to live with it, and we have to fill it with life for in the next years. That's something clear.
The only thing is the recycle PCB issue is the only bit of legislation that I really see. The only pressure that in the world.
So I think it's going to be a lot about the way we talk about it, the way we proposition it. Whether legislation will do that right now.
Yeah, and I think it's also we are really in a global business.
Yeah.
And I think what is really one of the problems at the moment is that in the different regions, the interpretation is totally different. And I think that's really one of the challenges. What I see is that you would like to have a lean approach, that you make things easier and so on, but still you have some regional issues, you have regional interpretations and so on, and that makes it sometimes really difficult. That's what I see, that's my experience. I don't know.
And do you think the sense there is that Europe will lead that because it does play better here?
Depends whether it gets votes or not. That's the problem. And in terms of a PR, yes, it's good to be there. Yes, I'm a politician who believes in the environment. Yes. But when it comes to the difficult decisions, you have to get re-elected. Oh, we want to stop this. Oh, but that exports jobs. Oh, you can't do that. This is another.
And you have the same in the States, don't you? You have election time, so nothing happens.
You do. And in the States, you certainly saw a lot of interest in clean technology, for example, a few years ago, and with the recession that really fell off the table in terms of being an important issue.
So it moves up and down the agenda.
But I expect it to come back. As the economy comes back, people will start to bring this back up as an issue. I do think legislation, as time goes on, will be an important part of driving it. Clearly, Europe in the past has been a leader in that area, and in some cases, that has brought the whole industry along with it. In other cases, you've seen people running to the lowest common denominator in terms of the legal requirements. So it plays both sides.
I suppose the Green Party is something which is known and accepted today. 10 years ago, what is this? So they have a little bit of pressure internally. So particularly in Germany, I think.
I think
yes, you are right. Yeah, but it's not still a dream of some green or left parties. It's really it's reality.
People feel it.
People feel it, and
it's in mainstream politics.
And I think the really question is, what will it cost if I step in too late? That's really the question. I think now, okay. Maybe now it's in some areas it's still expensive to step in, but the question is also, what are the costs if I step?
More expensive if you do it too late.
It could be more expensive if you do it too late, and that's something what I see where I think I'm not sure that we maybe are too late.
Well, and as a market leader, you have to be there first. Clearly, Europe's got some other political issues to deal with over the next few months before we get on to setting that kind of legislation. Guys, thanks very much for talking to me. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the show, and I hope we can talk again soon.
Thanks, Phil.